Hey. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Dream Leap Live TV. I am Adama Hamadi, your career clarity coach and lifestyle design specialist. I normally have a really long, broken down lesson. And today I just have been thinking so much about the training course that I launched last week called Purpose-Driven Powerhouse. I've been thinking a lot about just the kinds of things that I was packing into those lessons. Let me first break down that Purpose-Driven Powerhouse is my training bundle to help you get out of your head and into inspired, aligned action. So if you are done overthinking, if you are done making your life harder than it needs to be, if you are done talking to yourself any kind of way and ready to change the way you see yourself and the way you approach your work, your relationships, and your life, then Purpose-Driven Powerhouse would be a great place for you to start. I've been listening to my own trainings over the last few days because I think it's just really important for me to be crystal clear on what I'm putting out there. I want to be in integrity when I make my offers. I want to make sure that what I am selling is something that I would want to consume. I'm very intentional about where my energy and attention goes. So I want to make sure that everything I'm putting out there is something that I would want to be in and be in the energy of all the time. But anyway, so I've been listening to the trainings, completing the worksheets, and I'm really proud of it. I just, it took me a really long time to get to a place where I was willing to put myself out there in this way. It took me a while to get to a place where I was comfortable trying to figure out the tech pieces, and thank God I was able to get some support on that and lean on my community for it. But I'm just really proud of what it has become. Anyway, I say all of that to say I have been doing the work over and over and over again that I share in Purpose-Driven Powerhouse. And everything I'm sharing there is my approaches to personal leadership, mindset management, intentional lifestyle design, because I know that I'm a student of life and I know that I'm always growing and always evolving. And there are things that I said on these trainings a while back that I needed to remind myself of. So I've been watching and getting that energy. And as I was watching these trainings, I discovered that there are just some themes. There are themes and there are patterns and there are pieces that are going to continue coming up if you pay any attention to how I go about my work. There are going to be themes that are going to come up over and over and over again. And I just wanted to break down those themes today. Just in case you've been wondering what Purpose-Driven Powerhouse is about, in case you're trying to get it all condensed. I'm a really big fan of alliteration. I really like coming up with systems and things that are all the same letter, just because it makes it easier for me to remember. It's a really great mnemonic device for me. And so I want to share one of the patterns, I guess, or one of the tools that has been coming up for me as I am watching my own trainings over and over again. And I'm going to refer to them as the 6 Ds of training your brain to get more of what you want in your life. So D, like the letter D. So I have principles of burnout-proof living. I have phases you must go through to program your mind and take consistent aligned action. And I've just noticed, there are definitely different ways to break this down. So I wanted to try something different and just share what's been coming up for me as I've been watching these trainings. Feel free to jump in and ask any questions as things come up. But I just wanted to riff on what these 6 Ds are because I love alliteration. So I'm going to bless you with it. Okay? Okay, cool. Also, if I share something that you would feel guilty keeping to yourself, please share this with somebody who would appreciate it. If I say something that you want to make sure I can elaborate or expound on, go ahead and type in the comments that you want me to clarify. And then if after you've listened to what I have to share, you're like, how can I take this work further? Purpose-Driven Powerhouse is definitely the way to do that. And you click the link in my bio or send me a DM to explore your payment options. All right. So I talk all the time about how the time freedom, the clarity, the courage and confidence that I've cultivated and built did not happen by accident. They happened one decision at a time, and they happened very intentionally, right? And they required me to train my brain because I have a naturally anxious brain. I overthink a lot of things. I create problems where they aren't. I imagine worst case scenarios to try to protect myself. I just have a history of imagining the worst and trying to prepare for the worst and protect myself from, failure, rejection, where I just have a history of it, right? And I have lots of ways to get in my own head, to get in my own way, and to stay stuck. And I recognized if I wanted to live a life that I would be proud of, I would have to train my brain to unlearn its natural wiring. I would have to train my brain to stop defaulting to worry, to stop defaulting to comparison, to stop defaulting to self-doubt. And so I came up with a number of different ways that I could make sure my brain was destroying destructive patterns and moving toward patterns that worked for me. And then I was very deliberate about who I spent my time with, where I put my attention and energy, and just the kinds of action that I took consistently. So I'm going to share those. So if you are ready to hear the first of my 6 Ds for training your brain to get more of what you want in your life, go on ahead and type in ready so that I can have a chance to sip my water. As soon as you are ready, I will jump in. Ooh, this water is cold. Ready and ready. All right, family. The first D, the first thing you must do in order to train your brain to create more of what you want is to decide what matters to you most. Decide what matters to you most. Not what matters to you right now. Not what matters to the people you care about. Decide what matters to you most. I'm not talking about figuring out your priorities. I'm talking about deciding what you want to make important. Oftentimes, we feel scattered and disorganized. The only person at the moment who can make me... Oh! Love you, boo. Thank you for that. So a lot of times we feel scattered and disorganized and all over the place because we're chasing other people's expectations. We are trying to meet other people's priorities, and our bodies feel out of whack because we know that's not what we actually are supposed to be doing. So if you want to train your brain, you need to first get clear, not figure out, not think about, get clear and decide what matters most to you. Because clear priorities equals clear path. So once you have decided what matters most to you, your second D, when you decide what matters most to you, your brain is going to tell you all types of things. It's going to say things like, well, are you sure you're allowed to go after that? Or how are you going to make that happen? Or maybe you should focus on something else, or you're being selfish. Your brain is going to come up with all types of stories. And I call them stories because they're not the truth. They feel true, they feel real, they feel valid, but they are not the truth, right? So when you decide what matters most to you and you want to move forward with that decision, your brain, which is programmed to keep you safe, mind you, is going to feed you all types of ideas about why you can't have that. So your second D, after you have decided what matters most, you're going to deconstruct and break down any ideas you have about why what you want most can't happen. First, you're going to decide, then you're going to deconstruct all the limiting beliefs that come up. So this looks like identifying and acknowledging any assumptions you have about how hard it has to be. Yes. How are you going to make... Yes, DeAndrea. How are you going to make that happen is my brain's favorite thing to haunt me with. Yes. So if you have a history of doing things excellently and you don't currently know all the steps to execute perfectly, you are going to tell yourself that you can't try, that you can't make it, that you can't do anything. You might as well just sit back, right? And it is in the best interest, not of the person you are now, but is in the best interest of the higher person that you are becoming, your higher self, your best self. It is in the interest of that person for you to disregard what's coming up from your inner critic about why you can't make it happen. So if your brain is telling you, how are you going to make that happen? Deconstruct that. Break that down. When did I decide that I needed to have all the steps before I took the first one? Who did I get this from? What if that's not true? What else is possible, right? So breaking that shit down. After you have deconstructed your self-limiting beliefs, hey, come on, Nia. Yes, ma'am. I'm glad this is on time for you, girl. So after you've deconstructed all the bullshit that your inner critic is feeding you, the third D, the third thing you're going to need to do is declare your intention to the universe. Declare your intention to the universe. What do I mean by this? Sometimes we make decisions and we just like hope for the best. We make a decision. We say it would be really cool if I met this goal. And then we just like sit back. When you declare your intention, this is not just about like blasting it on Instagram, because sometimes you need to be protective of your dreams, right? You don't need to share your dreams with just anybody, but you need to be willing to commit out loud in some way. It's a secret, or it's a sneaky way to hold yourself accountable. When you declare your intention, when you say, I am ready to ... I have decided to ... I've made the decision or the commitment to ... To the right person, they're not going to let you give up on yourself. That right person might be a coach, like yours truly. That right person might be your best friend who's going to call you on your shit when you're ready to back out, when you're trying to quit, when you're trying to give up on yourself. But it is really important that you declare that intention, that you say it out loud and don't just like hope it happens magically. Manifestation is an active process. A lot of people assume that you manifest things by thinking about it and then it just gets created. And that is absolute bullshit. And it's going to hurt your feelings if you really think that's how things work. Manifestation requires a decision, a declaration, and then taking inspired action, right? So the first part of your inspired action might be actually saying what you want to somebody that's in a position to help you get it. It might be writing it down and keeping it handy, right? But there needs to be some declaration made. You need to communicate what you want and or ask for what you need. That's your third D. Once you have declared your intention, I think the hardest part for you is going to be practicing disrupting your inner critic. So in step 2, you were deconstructing your self-limiting beliefs. So you were breaking down all the thoughts you have about why you can't have something, or why what you want may be too much, or why it's impossible, right? The fourth D, after you've declared your intention, is going to practice catching your inner critic at work. This is going to be when you're developing the practice of discerning between your intuition and your inner critic. This is going to be when you are rejecting and releasing anything that's out of alignment with what you want. This is going to be you spending more time around people for whom what you want is the norm, so that you don't feel crazy going after it, so you don't feel like you're doing too much, so you don't feel like it's impossible. You're going to have to practice catching your inner critic at work. Every time you get a ping that you're doing too much, it's about replacing that with a, but what if I'm not doing too much? It's about replacing that with a, well, I have evidence that this can work. I say all the time, confidence comes from evidence. So if you want to disrupt your inner critic, you're going to need to come with receipts. Lean on your receipts. Remember that you are qualified for your calling. Remind yourself that you are bringing so much to the table, and then be selective about who you allow to sit with you. It's about getting in the energy and company of people who do this shit on the regular, so that if you don't meet that goal, it feels crazy. It's all about training your brain. Tell me what you're reacting to, Ms. Nia. I know that it can feel really difficult. Thank you for the hearts. It can feel really, really difficult to interrupt a voice that you've been hearing in your head for years. But I'm here to tell you, you are not your inner critic. Your inner critic belongs to somebody else. The voice of that inner critic belongs to someone whose approval you craved when you were younger. It belongs to someone who you genuinely admire and assume you could never be like. But it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the devil, shit. But it doesn't belong to you, right? And if you want to build self-trust and self-belief and self-confidence, you're going to need to practice weeding out that voice so that you can prioritize the voice of your intuition instead. Yes, absolutely. Relate to my inner critic, fueling my anxiety, and then I can hear my intuition clearly. Yes. So much work. This is a daily practice. I have been doing this shit daily, basically, for almost 9 years now. So it's not something that, it's not one and done. This is not one and done. It's not necessarily the most fun thing to do, to have to catch your inner critic at work, but it makes such a big difference in how you show up in your relationships. Time management is inner critic management. So if you want to manage your time, you need to manage your saying to and about yourself. That is something that is like super, super clear. If you want to manage your energy, you need to manage the shit you're saying to and about yourself. If you want to make sure that you're only in healthy relationships, you need to make sure that your relationship with yourself is solid. We are the primary example for what's acceptable in how people treat us. And so while it doesn't feel good in the moment to practice catching your inner critic at work, you will be able to bask in the glow of knowing that you belong to you. And there is nothing more delicious than that shit. Knowing that I have full sovereignty, knowing that I own my experiences, knowing that I belong to me and no one can control my life is... But I've had to work for that. It took me a much longer time to figure this out. And so I'm here to shorten your learning curve, right? So rock with me on these 60s. Okay. So where was I? Yes. So after you practice disrupting your inner critic, after you practice catching self-sabotage at work, because remember, your inner critic is tricking you into believing that you'll be safe if you stay small, right? And so your job is to disrupt that and normalize going big. It's about making it safe for you to get what you want, as opposed to making it safe for you to stay small and stuck. I apologize to myself now whenever I'm accidentally mean. Oh, that's a beautiful practice. That's a beautiful practice. A lot of women don't realize how mean they are to themselves until they have to write out the shit that their inner critic says. I like to have my clients do that, because when you see that shit written on paper, you're like, yikes. Like, I would never say that to anyone else that I love, but I say it to myself on autopilot. And we don't realize we're saying these things. You can't fix what you won't face, but once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. And it becomes your responsibility to do something about it, to shift that. So once you start to know what your inner critic sounds like, you can do the work to replace those thoughts with thoughts that feel better. To replace those criticisms with things that affirm you and propel you and enable you and empower you, right? No matter how long you've practiced thinking something, you get to choose to think something differently. No matter how long you and your inner critic have just been like making shit work together, you get to choose to prioritize your own voice and your voice of intuition over your voice of ego, inner critic, devil, whatever you want to call it, right? You are bigger than your inner critic. You are bigger than your insecurities. And the goal here is to focus more on your desired impact than on your insecurities. To focus more on what you want than on what you're afraid of losing. Because it's all about reminding your brain that it is safe for you to have what you want. All right. So after disrupting the inner critic, if you are ready for D number 5, go ahead and type in 5 for me so I can have more water. I know that's right. I would never allow somebody to speak to me that way and keep their teeth. A mood. a mood. If you wouldn't allow someone you don't know or care about to speak to you that way, then do not let yourself speak to you that way. All right. I see you ready for number 5, so I'm going to jump into number 5. It's so easy. You know, some of the things that so here's another hack, and I definitely share this in Purpose-Driven Powerhouse, but I'm going to share it again here. If you don't know what your inner critic sounds like, think about this. That insults that you are most afraid of hearing from somebody else, the thing that you go out of your way to avoid hearing, the thing that you work the hardest to not have to deal with, the criticism that you work the hardest to not have to deal with or be addressed with, that is the voice of your inner critic. That is the shit that you are fighting. That's the shit that you never ever want to have to deal with. Write that shit out and then practice replacing it with something better. But yeah, we would never let anyone else say that to us, but we say it to ourselves all the time. And we assume that it's just the truth, and that's just how things have to be. We forget that we have a say in how we show up in our lives. And we have to own that power, own that agency, by speaking to and about ourselves very differently. I have to be very careful about the language that I allow around myself. I would never allow some stranger to come up to me and tell me, girl, you need to be working harder, or you're not doing enough. Bitch, I will kick you in your throat. Like, it's not even a problem, right? But that's the kind of stuff that I would say to myself when I haven't done the work and when I haven't trained my brain to think thoughts that feel better, right? It's a daily practice. Anyway, we are ready for number 5, so I'm jumping in. So your 5th D is to design your days for peace, flow, and joy. Design your days for peace, flow, and joy. Now, when I say design your days, there are a number of layers behind this. I did not say design your day for maximum productivity, because just because you're creating shit doesn't mean you're focused on the right shit. Just because you're getting shit done doesn't mean that you're moving the needle. And also, like, you're not here to produce. Your job is not to produce, right? Your job is to show up and add value. And just because you've created something does not mean that it is something that is adding value to your life or to the life of anyone else around you, right? So we have to be very specific and very intentional. She said a read. Hi, Kia Boo. Which part was a read? You know, when I jump in with the drags, I'm not always sure which part was a drag. Let me know which part was a read. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, so when we're designing our days, I know a lot of people that pride themselves on getting the most done. Just because we're doing shit doesn't mean it's right. I mean, there we go. I know a lot of women that pride themselves, a lot of my clients, by the time they come to me, they are really good at knocking things off a to-do list. But when we go back through that to-do list, very little of those things are actually moving the needle forward for their goals and their dreams. They're doing everything for everybody else and having no time left for their goals. They are always available for friends and family and errands and community service. They have so much time for anyone else that calls on them, but cannot tell you the last time they've really focused in on what they want for themselves. Or they have all the time to be the great worker bee and get everything done for work, but can't remember the last time they slept through the night, or can't remember the last time they slept more than 4 hours, right? We have to be very careful that we don't prioritize productivity over everything. Productivity is, I like being productive, but that is not where my worth comes from. And I want to remind you, that's not where your worth comes from either. That's not where your worth or your value as a person or even as a leader comes from. And so it's important that we check that. We design our days for peace, for flow, and for joy. I believe that success is peace of mind. Now, I'm not here to project or force my definition of success on you. But I know for me, success is getting to the end of the day and feeling at peace. Success is knowing that no matter what happened around me, I feel peace within me so I can sleep well. And I feel safe, I feel good, like things are taken care of, right? That is success to me on a daily basis. If success means something different for you, it is important that you get clear on what that success means, right? So I love knowing that I've designed my days in such a way that I didn't make myself available for burnout, for depletion, for mistreatment of any sort. I'm simply not available for burnout. I've been chronically burned out before. I've had health crises based on my inability to stop. I've done all of that. And I made a decision to do things differently. So I'm no longer available for that. And that's no longer what I look to when scripting or designing my days. And when I say designing your days, I don't just mean morning routine, evening routine, because those are powerful. Those are incredibly powerful. But I also mean being very selective about where you put your time and attention and energy. So I check my email twice a day. That is it. Because A, my money is not in my email. Okay? My email are not feeding this toddler with a never-ending appetite. This email is not moving the needle forward. That's not where my focus is. If people need to reach me, they know how to reach me. If it's something that they cannot wait for, then there are other ways they're going to need to get to me. But the email is not the number one way. I'm simply unavailable for training people to think that they can email me at any time of night and that I'm just going to jump in and respond to them. And likewise, right? I don't check my email first thing in the morning because I don't want to train people to think that they can give me requests before I've done anything else with my life. I like to make sure that I've created something for me, that I've taken space for me, that I've done what I need to feel like a person before I go jumping into everyone else's expectations and agendas. That is a personal preference for me. If checking your email first thing feels peaceful and joyful, then keep doing that. But we also have to check our intention and check our energy and our come from. A lot of people that I know check their email first thing because they feel obligated. They feel like they owe it to their clients. They feel like they can't afford not to be available all the time. And that's more of that inner critic shit that if you think back to step 2 and step 4, you will have already started working through. So designing your days is about having routines and rituals that anchor you. It's about giving yourself the space and the systems and the support that you need to show up for the things that matter to you. It is about being careful about what you let into your mind, who you allow around you, how you spend your time. It's about giving yourself white space and buffers so that you can rest and recharge. There's a lot of intentionality to time freedom. One of my favorite quotes is, to be a free spirit requires great discipline. So I like to plan out my days so I can feel freer. Many people don't like to plan their days because it feels like it binds them. I feel freer because I know exactly what my day is for me. And if anything else pops up, I get to decide whether I'm willing to take that on or not. That is the 5th D. Let me know if you are ready for number 6. Type in number 6 if you're ready for the 6th D. And I'm going to have some more water. She ready. I don't know what that little boy is doing outside. He's like drumming on a table or something. I'm not sure what's happening. Anyway. So, the 6th D for training your brain to get more of what you want. After you have decided what matters most, after you have deconstructed all your limiting beliefs, after you've declared your intention to the universe, after you have disrupted your inner critic, after you have designed your days for peace, flow, and joy, then you need to drink it all in. Drink it in. And what I mean by that is, I heard a while ago, I don't remember who said it. I heard a while ago that celebration anchors in your joy. Sometimes go-getters and achievers, like us, get shit done and say, all right, cool, on to next, right? Because we're looking for that next dopamine rush of like getting something done, as opposed to really sitting in and basking in the glory of completing something you worked hard for. Celebration anchors in your joy. What you appreciate appreciates. If you don't appreciate and give thanks for what you've already been able to create, it's really difficult to expect that anything more will come. And if you do create more, you're going to continue feeling empty because you didn't take the time to appreciate what you had already done. You cannot get enough of what you don't actually really need. And if you think that you need more checks on your to-do list to feel worthy, you're going to keep working and never feel that sense of worthiness. You're going to keep fighting to chase something that you always had within yourself anyway. And so this kind of is tied into designing your days for peace, flow, and joy. It's really important that you carve out time to celebrate what you've done. Celebrate what you've gotten done or accomplished. Celebrate what you've learned on your journey. Celebrate any progress made. Baby steps are still steps. And if you tell yourself you either have to get it all done or none of it matters, then you're not ever going to enjoy what you're working hard for. So it is essential that you practice drinking it in. You earned it. You deserve this. When something good happens to me, I like to say to myself, you deserve this. You earned this. And even to strangers on the internet, like women I don't know that well, when they are celebrating themselves, I'll just say, you deserve this. You earned this. Because it can be really difficult to internalize your success if you feel like your worth is just at the next accomplishment. Your worth is not on the line. You're worthy right now already. You were born worthy. Nothing has changed. There's nothing you can do to become more worthy. There's nothing you can do to become less worthy, right? The worthiness is there and set. Now enjoy the journey. Be proud of who you are right now. Be proud of the work you're doing to become the woman you want to be. Be proud of everything that you have done and learned and overcome. And be proud as you're working toward what you want most. But we have to practice celebrating and appreciating and giving thanks. Because it's really hard to call in anymore when you're not already being a responsible, grateful steward for what you have. So I think that is something that I really want you to marinate on. All of these accomplishments mean nothing if you think that your joy is going to come after the next one. Practice feeling the joy now. Practice feeling the joy now. So, I told you I really like alliteration. So these were the 6 D's that I broke down for training your brain to get more of what you want. Now, I don't explicitly describe them as a 6 D's in Purpose-Driven Powerhouse, but I do break down each of these in my 6 pillars of burnout-proof living. I just noticed that there were fun D words that I could use here. So, if you like the way I broke this down, I break it down even more eloquently in the Purpose-Driven Powerhouse Training Bundle. If you are looking for support in reclaiming your time, recharging your spirit, recommitting to purpose, these 6 D's and more are broken down in Purpose-Driven Powerhouse. I originally was going to offer 10 video trainings plus worksheets and exercises, but I've added a couple bonuses in. So people that are signing on now are noticing like, oh, it's definitely more than 10. So you can go to bit.ly/Purpose-Driven Powerhouse to enroll today. The price has gone up a little bit since the launch on July 1st. And prices will continue to go up, so it is in your best interest to take advantage now. That is basically what I had to share today. And now I want to open this up for any questions that you have from me. And I thank you for playing along and typing in the numbers and all that jazz. So, what do you want to know? What questions do you have for me? Oh, this rain is coming down. What questions do we have, family? Are we just marinating? Are we just taking it all in? Oh, hey. It is the Q&A portion. So let me know what questions you have. If we just reach that point when people are just like tired and over it, I will press end and I'll see you next Tuesday. But I would love to answer questions that are coming up for you about training your brain to get more of what you want. Oh, thank you for the hearts. Ah. Hey, gorgeous. Hey, Monty Boo. Now, I'm seeing the hearts, but I'm not seeing the questions. Come on now, you know I'm an extrovert. I want some kind of... Give me something. Give me something. If I don't have a question in another minute, I'm going to go ahead and log off. But I do thank you for doing what it took to be here and for rocking with me this long as I was just riffing and rambling as I do. This was clear as a bell, a good reminder. I need to refresh my memory. Listen, thank you. I received that. I received that. So what did you need to refresh your memory about? And I know there are some people watching this that may, in the moment you hear stuff and you're like, all right, cool. But if you really want to internalize this, if you really want to lock this in and like really have this in your brain, I would recommend that you sign up for the training bundle so you can binge the content, watch it as many times as you need to make it make sense. Watch it as many times as you need to whenever you want to boost your mood and just get in this energy. It's a number of different videos. I'm breaking down the concepts and the principles and sharing insights and a little bit of my story. And I also have some worksheets that you can do on your own time and at your own pace. So if this is something you want to keep fresh, the best way to do that would be Purpose-Driven Powerhouse. Daily practice thing just makes it feel like it takes up so much time. I feel you. So the reason I say it's a daily practice is because, we know healing is not linear, right? It's not linear. Like some days I feel a lot more evolved than others. Some days I feel a lot more prepared for my anxiety than other days, right? Mindset management is not one and done, but it is absolutely worth it. And you will notice the progress as you go. I don't really have any questions. Been taking notes every time you talk about your inner critic. I know that's right. Your inner critic is a hater. Good news, you know that your inner critic is bullshit. Your inner critic is not you. You are bigger than your inner critic, and you have power over your inner critic. That makes life a lot easier. You're not just like at their mercy. Any other takeaways that we want to share? Because I love this and I appreciate that. They say note takers are money makers. You know, I'm always taking notes. So you take your notes too, girl. But then act on them. Act on them. Do something about what you're writing. If you're writing and then you throw that shit away, it's a waste. If you're writing and you never look at it again, it's a waste. But if you really like soak it in and allow yourself to learn from it and grow and implement and practice, you would be amazed at what you can create. Ooh. It just got real quiet. I don't know if that means the kid's asleep. He would take a super, super late ass nap just to be a hater. Today has been quite a day. I've had lots of mindset management practice today because y'all's nephew has been trying it with me. Y'all's nephew has been trying it with me. I think he has reached like peak trollery. He is a master troll and a master nerve grabber, and I've been just practicing choosing thoughts that feel better. Choosing thoughts that feel better because he doesn't know that this is irritating me, right? Anyway, hey Hellbell. I'm saying, you know, healing is not linear. I'm still growing. I'm still evolving. Okay. I'm doing what I can. I love that baby fiercely, but I'm like, literally, why are you like this? And why do we have to do things this way? But that's fine. I'm getting better and I'm choosing new thoughts every day. And I'm disrupting my inner critic. When my inner critic says, you ain't shit as a mother and you should be doing better, I get to choose new thoughts and say, you know what? I don't owe my child a perfect mother. I owe him a happy one. And I feel happier when I take breaks. So sometimes I need to take a break and walk into my bedroom and listen to my favorite music instead of entertaining his foolery. And he'll be just fine, right? Mindset management at work. When you work the work, it works for you. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for the hearts. Thank you, thank you. All right, family. I'm seeing there are no more questions. I love you dearly. I appreciate you. Helen, you already know. You already know, girl. I appreciate you. I'm going to go ahead and save this to the podcast. So don't you worry if you are not able to catch this. And in the meantime, I hope that you have a delicious week on purpose because you deserve it. Okay? You've earned it and you deserve it. More of that mindset management. Okay? Great. Have a great evening. Ciao, ciao.